Hey guys, it's Medicosis Perfectionalis, where medicine makes perfect sense. Let's continue our biology playlist. In the last section, we talked about the kidneys and the skin, i.e. homeostasis. Today we'll talk about musculoskeletal system, and we start with muscles, and then we'll talk about bones. So let's get started. It's muscle time. As you know, you have three types of muscles: skeletal muscles, smooth muscles, and cardiac muscles. Please watch these videos in order. Some questions: how many muscles are there in the human body? What's the strongest skeletal muscle? What's the longest skeletal muscle? What's the biggest skeletal muscle? And what skeletal muscle is essential for survival? Let's go back to basics. The building unit of your body is the cell. Groups of cells will make tissues. A group of tissue will make an organ. A group of organs will make a system which carries body functions. Tissues. We have four types of tissues: epithelium, connective muscle, and nerve. We're talking about muscle today. How many skeletal muscles do you have? 620. What's the strongest one of them? The masseter, believe it or not. It's not the gluteus maximus. The gluteus maximus is the biggest, the thickest, but not the strongest. The masseter, oh my goodness, this is strong. How about the strongest smooth muscle? The uterus. What's the longest skeletal muscle? The sartorius. The biggest, the gluteus maximus. It's also the thickest. Which skeletal muscle is essential for survival? The diaphragm. What percentage of total body weight is muscles? About 40%. Your muscles are anatomically redundant and physiologically very active. You can divide your muscles into striated, like this, they have striations, and smooth, no striations. Striated muscles are then subdivided into skeletal and cardiac. Skeletal muscles are voluntary, cardiac muscles are involuntary, of course. How about smooth, non-striated muscles? Involuntary. Can you tell your stomach to contract or to relax? Shut up. Skeletal muscles, voluntary, i.e. supplied by the somatic nervous system, and their cells are nucleated. Conversely, cardiac muscles are involuntary, i.e. supplied by autonomic nervous system. Don't forget that your cardiac muscle also has automaticity, which means even if you cut the nerve fibers, the heart will continue to pump for a while. Cardiac muscles are also branched, and they are mononucleated, just like the smooth muscles. In today's video, we will focus more on the skeletal muscles. In the next video, we'll talk about smooth, cardiac, and skeletal, and we'll compare among the three types of muscles. Let's talk about skeletal muscle functions: breathing, the diaphragm and the intercostal muscles; posture, muscles on your back, in your neck, in your thighs, etc. Do the locomotion with me so that you can move. Heat production. When you talk to an engineer, they think that some energy is being, quote, wasted as heat. Well, it's not that wasted actually if it's gonna help you stay warm in the winter. As Dr. Thomas Sowell said, there are no solutions in life, only trade-offs. Muscles can squeeze your veins in your legs to push the blood upwards to increase venous return, to boost your preload, which is the input to the heart. More input equals more output, so that you can perfuse your organs. Plus, inside your muscles, there are many nerve fibers. In this biology playlist, we talk about the basics. If you want to take it to the next level, I have another playlist called Physiology. Do you remember Maslow's hierarchy of needs? There's also Medicosis' hierarchy of muscle. Here is the big muscle, right? Each skeletal muscle is made of muscle fibers, also known as myofibers. Each fiber is made of fibrils. Each fibril is made of myofilaments. Some of them are thin, actin. Some of them are thick, myosin. But hey, Medicosis, which one of these is the actual muscle cell? The muscle fiber, or the myofiber, is the actual muscle cell, or the myocyte. Let's talk about these myocytes, or muscle fibers, or myofibers. Let's go. Each one of these fibers is enveloped by a sarcomere, which is a lovely sheath made of glycoprotein. Now let's zoom in, and then we'll zoom out. Let's zoom in. Each one of these fibers is made of parallel myofibrils. You'll find those fibrils embedded in the cytoplasm of the myofibers, the layer just above them, among a complex tubular system. We'll talk about the T-tubules soon. And then let's zoom out. I see a muscle fiber, and another muscle fiber, and a third muscle fiber, and a fourth muscle fiber. Let's bundle all of these muscle fibers together by connective tissue, and we'll arrange them into parallel fascicles. Here are the lovely muscle fibers or muscle cells. Let's bundle them together and we make a fascicle. That's the fascicle or the bundle. And then a group of bundles will make the actual muscle, which extend from one tendon to the next tendon, the tendon of origin to the tendon of insertion. The individual muscle fiber is covered by an endomysium. The muscle bundle is covered by a perimysium. The entire stinking thing is covered by an epimysium. There you have it, muscle tissue, connective tissue, and blood vessels. Each myofiber is made of myofibrils, thread-like structures. They make up the muscle fiber. Let's zoom in. Each one of these fibrils is made of myofilaments. Some of them are thin, actin. Some of them are thick, myosin. Between a fibril and the next fibril, there is a Z line. Between one Z line and the following Z line, there is a sarcomere. Sarco means body or muscle or flesh. Mere means a piece. It's a piece of flesh. Do you remember your nervous system? Yeah, of course. What was the structural unit of the nervous system? The neuron. Excellent job. What was the functional unit of the nervous system? The reflex arc. Beautimus. Now let's talk about muscles. What's the structural unit of the muscle? The muscle fiber, the myocyte, the myofiber. What's the functional unit of the muscle? The sarcomere, which is located between two successive Z lines. Here is a Z line, here is another Z line. Between those two successive Z lines is a piece called sarcomere, which is made of thin filaments called actin and thick filaments called myosin. Actin and myosin are your myofilaments. Group those filaments together and you have a myofibril. Group those fibrils together and you have a muscle fiber. This is the actual muscle cell. Group them together, bundle them together in fascicles. Bundle the fascicles together and group them together and you get a big muscle, which extends between the tendon of origin and the tendon of insertion. Do you remember actin and myosin? Yeah, we talked about them before. I can't recall. Do you remember the cytoskeleton? Yeah. It's the skeleton of the cell. That's true. It was made of three structures. Myofilaments, which are made of actin, microtubules, which are made of tubulin, and intermediate filaments, which differ depending on the tissue type. And I have a separate video on the intermediate filaments here on the channel. Here are two successive Z lines. Hey Medicosis, why did we call them Z line? Why not the F line, as in F me? Well, Z line came from a German word called Zwischenschiebe, which basically means in between. Here are actin filaments, which are thin, and here are myosin filaments, which are thick. Actin is thin, therefore it's gonna shine under light. It is isotropic, therefore it's called the I band. Conversely, if you have myosin, it is thick. It is not shiny. It is anisotropic, the A band. So here is the lovely I band, and it is light, it is shiny, it is made of only the thin filaments, only actin. Conversely, the A band, anisotropic, is made of what? Pay attention. It is made of myosin, that's true, and some actin. Oh, gotcha. So I band has actin only, A band has myosin and actin. The I band lies around the Z line, but the A band is not around the Z line at all. The A band is in the center of the sarcomere. How about this midline? It's called the M line because it's literally the midline, and it is traversing only the myosin filaments. When your muscle contracts, some lovely cross bridges, not to be confused with your yoga bridges, are gonna extend from the thick filaments, myosin, onto the thin filaments, actin, and then we will pull the actin closer to the midline. Your entire muscle fiber will shorten in length, getting the insertion closer to the origin. #contraction. So I band is actin only. A band is myosin and actin. How about the H zone? H zone has myosin only. It came from the German word heller, which means lighter. Lighter than what? Lighter than the A band, because the A band has two types of fibers. H zone has only one type. Here's your muscle before contracting. Here is your muscle after contracting. When your muscle contracts, the cross bridges are going to pull the actin inwards towards the midline. The Z line will become zigzag. The I band will shorten in length. The H zone will also shorten in length. However, the A band will not change in length. However, the entire sarcomere will shorten. The entire muscle fiber will shorten. Your entire skeletal muscle will shorten, getting the insertion closer to the origin, #contraction. Myosin, the thick filaments, made of 2 heavy chains and 4 light chains. The heavy chains are gonna make the tail and the body. They also are going to extend 2 arms which have 2 hinges. The first hinge is between the arm and the body. The second hinge is between the arm and the head. And the head is very important because it has 3 binding sites. A site to bind with actin, which we'll talk about soon. A site to bind ATP and ATPase activity to break down the ATP and release energy necessary for contraction. Here's the structure of the myosin. Please pause and review. Everything here is heavy chains with the exception of these 4 indigo-colored light chains. How about actin then? Actin is thinner, 2 chains only. They coil around each other forming a double helix. Do you remember your DNA? The actin has an active site to bind to the cross bridges which extend from the myosin. Now, take a deep breath and let's zoom out. If we're talking about skeletal muscle, how do we supply the skeletal muscle with nerves? Okay, Medicosis first, it's a skeletal muscle, therefore I'm talking about somatic nervous system. Excellent job. Here is the deal. You have an upper motor neuron which starts in your brain and ends in your spinal cord, and a lower motor neuron which starts in your spinal cord, specifically at the anterior horn cell, and then it will go out of the spinal cord. This is my nerve. For example, if I'm going to the biceps muscle, this nerve will be called the musculocutaneous nerve. And I'm going to talk my biceps into contraction. Hey biceps, please contract. Alright, but I need a neurotransmitter. Sure, I will release acetylcholine to help you contract. If I release acetylcholine, they will call me cholinergic fiber. And since the biceps is voluntary, I am a somatic nerve. I release acetylcholine, which binds to the receptor on the biceps. What kind of receptor? Is it nicotinic or muscarinic? It is nicotinic. Is it nicotinic sub N for nerve or nicotinic sub M for muscle? It is nicotinic sub M for muscle, a skeletal muscle that is. So that's me, the cholinergic nerve fiber, which releases acetylcholine. If I'm going to a skeletal muscle, this acetylcholine is gonna leave the presynaptic neuron and it's gonna bind to the postsynaptic receptor, which is nicotinic sub M, at the neuromuscular junction so that your biceps may contract. The comparison between the somatic and the autonomic nervous system was discussed before. Since this video focuses more on the somatic nervous system, let me remind you that the somatic nervous system is just one type. We have only one target, skeletal muscles, with one function, muscle contraction, one type of fibers, A fibers, preferably A alpha, because when you're running from a tiger, this activity is essential for survival. Give it the best fibers that you have. They are the thickest and they are myelinated, ergo, they are the fastest in conduction. I have one efferent only. There is no time to waste relaying in a ganglion because I need to survive. I need to run from the tiger and run for my life. We have only one type of neurotransmitter, which is acetylcholine. That's why they call us cholinergic fibers. We are voluntary. We operate. We do not increase contraction, decrease contraction, and tweak it like, no. That's for autonomic. To increase it a little, decrease it, no. We either contract or no contract. And if I'm talking about a lower motor neuron, it started in the anterior horn cell of the spinal cord, and we deal only with the fastest, thickest, myelinated type of fiber known as A alpha. In order for your biceps to contract, the musculoskeletal nerve has to be activated, i.e. depolarized, i.e. sodium influx, depolarization, calcium influx, through the voltage-gated calcium channel. Calcium is the here of contraction. It's going to contract and rupture the vesicle, releasing the acetylcholine here by exocytosis. Acetylcholine is here at the neuromuscular junction or at the synaptic cleft. Acetylcholine is going to bind its nicotinic sub-M receptor at the neuromuscular junction, and therefore your muscle will contract. We shall continue later. If you enjoyed this video, you will like my renal physiology course available at medicosisperfectionalis.com. It comes with videos, cases, my Perfectionalis Ultimate Notebook, which you should print. You download this course once and you keep it for you forever. I also have a surgery high yields course, an emergency medicine high yields course, and you can get 50% discount towards any course by using discount code ARDS. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe, hit the bell, and click on the join button. You can support me here or here. Go to my website to download my courses. Be safe, stay happy, study hard. This is Medicosis Perfectionalis, where medicine makes perfect sense.